If you didn't know, we had a team of 14 people head down to Latin America over the last week. It was an all-star crew. I mean, Jeremiah was there, which, I don't know how much more famous you can get. Skylar Osaby was there, first time back since 2013. And we took James Lassiter on his first trip out of a country that wasn't the United States or Canada, and this guy killed it. Look at him. James, every morning when I saw James to confirm how good he was doing to me, he was like, see, baby, you can drop me anywhere, baby. Drop me anywhere. Drop me anywhere. I think I'm getting pretty good at my James Lassiter impression, so anytime in conversation where he disagrees with you, he'll go, no. There's like a couple consecutive no's there, so... No, but super thankful to have James. So we're all going to share a little bit about the trip so you guys can hear about it. Hopefully it encourages you. So I manage all of our programs and projects in Latin America. And leading up to this trip, there were a variety of needs that we needed to address in our region. One of them, most importantly, was our lack of water for irrigation of our garden. Last summer, there was a team through New Waterworks that came down, and we drilled a small borehole with a hand-spun drill. I don't really know how to explain it. It's a lot of metal, and you spin it with your body, and it's a lot of hard work. We got down about 25 feet, and we ran into issues with soil composition and lack of water production, and that borehole ended up not producing what we needed for our garden. We ended up testing it on this last trip, and we were getting about a gallon a day out of it, which, if you're trying to irrigate a garden, a gallon a day does not keep the doctor away, as they say. So, there's a lot of rhymes there, but... Anyways, so in talking to Jeremiah, who's heading up New Waterworks, we determined that there was another existing well that's been on our property since probably for about 30 or 40 years. 30 years. And it's just been actually filled with trash over the years. People who had things they couldn't burn in the area because there isn't trash service, they would just throw it in the big hole on the property nobody owned until we started owning it, and people stopped doing that on some level. I think they still snuck some in every now and again. But that well existed. We were interested in if we could get down in there, pump out the water, clean it out. Jeremiah is going to share a little bit on that process. But what I want to say as somebody organizing the team, is that it was so refreshing working with a team of experts. People who can go down, who know what they're going to do. Our pre-trip meetings, we were able to develop contingencies in relation to if A can't happen, then we'll do B. And all of those things ended up coalescing into a plan that we were able to execute on a very rapid timeline. I think we had the whole project done in about 4.5 days. And we were able to finish everything. There was no string unturned, no wire untaped, or I don't know, I'm trying to think in my head. No screw untightened. There we go. Thank you, brain. But we were able to get it all done, and that says something. When you're working in the third world, particularly in a rural area of the third world, we can't just hop down to Home Depot or, hey, I forgot this. We had to pre-plan, pre-package everything we needed down there. And all of these guys participated in doing that. Another thing I wanted to say while being down there with a team like this is it wasn't just about having experts that could do a task. It was about having experts who knew a task so well that they could teach and empower the people who are on the ground year round. So I got to see James in particular work with two of our students, Kenya and Amilcar. They are both very bright students, but they've grown up in a world that's made them feel as if they aren't intelligent, as if they don't have the ability to learn. And their public school system doesn't do them a lot of favors in boosting their confidence in that regard. When James started working with them, I could tell after the first day, Kenya in particular, she's a very serious young woman. She's very hardworking. She actually is the assistant manager of our garden program down there. I could tell she was dissatisfied after the first day. So I pulled her aside. I'm like, Kenya, what's up? Like, are you upset? She's like, no, everything's great. I was like, well, I think you're upset because you didn't do manual labor yesterday. And that's how you find value, is in doing manual labor. And she's been a farmer, and she's taken care of animals her whole life. She starts tearing up. And I'm like, Kenya, James was teaching you how to run these solar panels, how to wire them, how to hook them into the batteries, so that you, as the assistant manager to the garden program, can actually repair and replace these things, because everything we had down there was purchased down there, is accessible down there. So it's not like we brought some complicated circuitry, that they aren't going to be able to get access or repair when we're not there. And she told me, she's like, I just don't feel like I'm smart enough to understand all of these things. I was like, well, I talked to James, and he said you were passing the test. He's the expert. So I was like, should we listen to James, or should we listen to, and what I tried to explain to her was her insecurities, which is from her flesh. and it's trying to beat her down, and she's not able to see what the Spirit's doing. She's super emotional, super emotional. She told me thank you. We prayed together. But then after that moment, I was able to see her confidence boost as James was like, okay, Kenya, explain to me the system. How do we wire it up? If we have issues with lack of sun, how are the readings on the electrodes going to read? And she could explain all of it. So by the end of the week, it was like this major empowerment moment for this student who now not only can repair it, but now as other people in that area start to see what we're doing and they can see that it works, because people need that. They need to be able to see something is working, particularly a poor person. They don't have the cash flow to take a risk and be like, oh, I'm going to invest in this solar panel. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But when they see it works for us, it'll be something now she can do for her neighbors, which is really awesome. Last thing I want to say is we had a really great team of builders, contractors. We also had Skylar and Greg and Lavinia join us toward the end of the trip, which is really awesome. I love being abroad with Lavinia because even though now that she's pregnant, there's lots of snack stops, mango stops, which I always appreciate. I remember at one point, me, her, and Greg were in the car, and Greg's like, Lavi, you look flushed. She's like, I need a snack. She's like, we're in the middle of San Salvador. She used to live there. I don't know where I am. She's like, left turn, right turn, go down the cul-de-sac too. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a mango stand. And she like bolts out of the car. She's like, you want anything? I was like, yes, give me some yuca chips. And she brought them back to me just the way I like them, with lime and salsa. And I just felt so loved. But it's always a perk having Lavi there. I was very thankful. But I was also thankful to have Greg and Skylar down there. Skylar is one of our academy teachers. He was able to go down and even work with James on some of the solar work that he wants to teach in his classes. So it's going to give him even a more different perspective to share at the academy. I pray it blesses the students in that regard. And then for me and Greg, I love being abroad with Greg. He's always helping me see how to make our mission more effective according to God's word, more efficient. We were both of us able to meet with some business and ministry people in our network to talk to them about our vision for the next years in El Salvador. And some of the people we got to meet with, I kid you not, they were just in tears, like humbled about the work we want to do in El Salvador and the ways we want them to participate with us. I even had somebody send me a message afterwards about how honored they felt. And that word honor in Spanish is not thrown around loosely. There's some deep meaning there. And for me personally, going on this trip, being the person who organizes it, when you lead something like that and you're responsible for everybody, typically I go into serious mode and I'm like, everything will be thought of, all details taken care of. And at one point, Matt Webb on the trip said, hey man, don't really see a smile on your face. I was like, hey Matt, leave me alone. I'm in the zone, bro. Can't you see? It was fun. It was a good time. But I was blessed. I was blessed by our team. I was blessed by all the gifts everybody got to give. The word of God we were able to share with our people in El Salvador. It was really amazing. And I'm going to hand it off to Jeremiah Watson.
Thank you, Parker. I'm just going to bounce through some slides here real quick so you guys get a little bit of an actual picture of what we did. And I'm not going to get much into the technical because there's only about 10 of you in here that's going to make you be like, woo, and the rest of you are going to be like, what? So real quick here, this first slide is the well before we went down. This is the preconditions of the well. That water's sitting at about 16 feet, and about a foot below the water surface is where the trash begins. You want to roll on to the next slide? So just so you guys know, we do things in a very safe manner, maybe even more overkill than we need to, but you don't want to lose a person in a well. There's so many stories about that in children's books. You got to learn that lesson real early in life. We set up here, and you can go ahead and roll to the next one. And you can see as we're getting ready to go down, like everybody's strapped in, set up, harnessed in. And the way we have to clean this well is literally by going in the well. You pump out the water, and then you send a person down on a ladder with a bucket and, well, an ice scoop or a little tiny shovel. And they start cleaning, and they start taking out one bucket at a time, over and over and over. It's a dirty, nasty job. Jason Carpenter and Kyle Becker were our two well rats, and they spent the majority of time down there. You can clap for them. That's the dirty, nasty job this trip. They both were, in the muck of it. Go ahead and roll to the next one. So this is some of the stuff we started pulling out. Go ahead and hit the next one too. We get an aerial shot of that. So you've got everything from bricks, sticks, rocks, blocks. You got any more rhymes I can throw in there?
Bottles.
Oh, that doesn't rhyme. I was trying to, Parker got 3 in. I thought I could beat it. No. Socks. Did we find a sock? Yeah, we got socks. So there was all sorts of things in there, but mostly and a lot of glass. That's what the majority of what was in there was glass or bricks. And so as you can imagine, like glass, it's your most ideal thing to have in your water source, you know, great stuff. Go ahead and roll on to our next one here. That's what that well looked like when we were done, guys. So that's a little over 25 foot deep. The sides are scrubbed down, cleaned, sanitized. It's absolutely a fabulous well. I mean, as we got down in there, we were all kind of like, wow, this was a really well-built well. We could have really been working with this for years in the past. Nobody wants to get in there and clean that out. So this was a really productive trip in that sense. Go ahead and roll the next one here. That's JC down there in the bottom. Another thing that we got out of this well is, and I'm hoping it continues to increase, but something that people don't know about wells is when you use a well, if it's a good well, it actually increases in production. As the groundwater starts to work its way, it creates its own channels. So even from the first day when we finished cleaning that well and what we were producing, which was about 100 gallons for the course of the day, 2 days later, by the time we left, we'd bumped up to about 150. So I just really feel like the Lord is just blessing that production and that work as it just continues to grow and increase, meeting that need of this garden. Go ahead and hit the next one here. Just a quick aerial shot of everybody getting around as we're just making sure that everything's going well. Hit the next one. Now we're getting a little bit into the system. So here's one of our water towers, and this is the solar panel that James actually rigged up with his crew and got set up on that tower in order to start collecting sun to power everything, because this is a completely off-grid system. It allows, no matter what the system of this world brings about, whether they shut off electricity, power, water, it doesn't matter. This can be completely sustained within even the people that we have there as they've gained the knowledge in how to maintain and work on this. Hit the next one, it's going to be a similar thing. Get that one more there. By the way, that campus is gorgeous. This is the next solar panel, and that's on top of our composting station. This has really been a love of our garden program down there. Antonio has fallen in love with compost. He thinks it's going to change the world. And I don't disagree, but in particular, his world in that area, this is something that he has discovered is going to be revolutionary to the farmers and the local people down there. It's really become one of his passions. I love talking about it because anytime one of our cooperatives develops a passion for something in and of themselves, like their motivation and their enthusiasm to make it successful just goes through the roof. Like there's nothing we can teach him about compost that's going to encourage him more than what he already does. Like we'll teach him new little techniques and stuff, but he is driving forward like a freight train. He thinks this is going to change the lives of those around him, and it's a beautiful thing to see. But on top of it is our little solar panel, second solar panel there, and that actually powers the little pump that runs into the garden. So there's a water catchment system that comes out of the well into a cistern up by the garden, and then it pumps out of that into their drip irrigation system to help maximize the use of that water. Go ahead and hit the next one here. Okay, now I'm going to leave most of the description of this to James because I don't want to steal his thunder over here. But I always have to cry when I talk in front of you guys. It's one of my rules. This is the picture I'm going to not do it during. This is what Parker was describing. That's Kenya on the left right there. That's Amilcar. They're both working on this with James. And like I said, I'm not going to steal his thunder, but it was absolutely beautiful to see them grow through this experience. It was a huge deal, guys. Go ahead and go to the next one. All right, now that's our well with a pipe sticking out. It's not exactly the most exciting picture, but the fact that pipe's sticking out of there after we've been working on this property and around this property for the last 10 years, this is a huge deal to see that source of water be reclaimed. Because for years we even were like, this is a mess. Like we don't want to deal with this. There's too many risks involved. There's just, the need hadn't grown to the point where it's like we had to deal with this. But at this point, the need was there. Like the need had exceeded, the garden had grown. Antonio's enthusiasm with Kenya helping him had grown so much that like the need was no longer capable of being set aside. And we had to meet it. So that well is just the meeting of that need for those programs that are attached to those people and that growth. A well in and of itself is nothing, guys. Like we've got to remember that. I mean, we've lived without it for lots of years. The reason it's had to be done now is because the people that are attached are growing. Go ahead and roll on to the next one here. That's that next pump system in the cistern. We're able to fill that tank in about 2 days currently, and as that well continues to grow in its production, it might even get down to 1. But it's not a small tank, guys. I can't look in it. Like we're talking up here. Like this isn't little. Go ahead and roll on to the next one here. And I just want to throw a couple quick shots here. This is of their splitting system going into the garden. And then our next one here, just a quick picture of the drip irrigation system that Antonio's set up to show what this well's really for, guys. This is to supply that garden that is being a demonstration garden, to show the people around there that there's another way. There's another way to grow in an area that truly, for years, they were like, nothing will grow here. That was the thing. When we got this land, all the neighbors were like, you can grow nothing on this land. It is dead. And the first time that anything grew on it, they were like, it's a miracle. Like, it's impossible. And this is just a sign of that growth that continues to happen. Hit me one more here because this next one's pretty awesome. I want to just finish out here real quick with something that we got to cap off our trip with. With Greg down there and Skylar and other people, one of the big driving motivations of this trip was to really create a one-team effort. Where all of our different regional teams and the people that have been volunteering with our ministry and stuff could come together and focus on one goal that we could accomplish with efficiency and with limited amount of resources, and just drive it home with the use of knowledge, teaching, and education. And in that, we got to open that up to our other regions as well. So this is actually a photo of us in a meeting where all of us are around this big U table. We're set up in different stations, and on that thing, I know you can't see it, but those are our cooperatives from all our different regions. So we got to go through the same thing I'm talking to you about now, with how this well happened, worked, how we got to work together, meeting that need, and share it with our cooperatives from our other regions, and kind of give them another vision for the future and how a lot of our things are going to work together in this globalized world where truly we are the biggest resource that we have, and it's not just us. Like, they're the resource as well. Like, they participate alongside us, not just in their region, but in our other regions. And this was just a revolutionary moment, I think, for me and honestly for our ministry, for everybody that was there. Like, this was a moment that we were like, we get to see a vision for a kingdom that's being created under one head, under God, and just the fruition of that education manifesting in that moment. And you can hit the next one, though it's just that. Keeps you from getting distracted by that moment, and keeps me from crying when I think about it. We're not going to do that. I've already said that. But the last one team event I got to go to was in 2013. I got to do that with a bunch of guys. We did a bunch of earth bag in El Salvador. Skylar actually got to be there for that, and I just want to hand it off to him as he got to be here for this, and I think he'll be able to show some awesome perspectives of some growth over time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremiah. Is that for him or for me? I don't know which way that goes. Both. Unity, one team. All right. Yeah, like Jeremiah said, the last time I was in El Salvador was in 2013, and there was a very big difference between that trip and this trip. And I think one of the big differences was that we have cooperatives that we're working with right now that really have a heart to push forward and to see God's work done on earth, And it was so encouraging to me to even see them, to meet them, because I've seen their pictures. Hopefully you have too, heard stories, but to be face to face with them and to walk with them and to hear them even talk about how they've been encouraged and how the Word of God has been something that has been motivating them to push forward, even when, as we all do, we face insecurities, we face struggles. As Parker was sharing earlier, like Kenya, even running through those insecurities that have been put on her because of the way their world is. When you're poor, you are forced, sometimes to just stay there. You don't get the opportunity to be educated or to grow and learn trades that can be beneficial to people around you. Those opportunities don't often present themselves. And so for me, it was fantastic to not only witness our cooperatives and to hear their stories, but to see the investment that has been done through the Word of God, as well as through even this project, and seeing them become so excited about how to make this work because they were going to have skills now, and even that the confidence, that comes with those kind of skills you learn to be able to be helpful to those around them. I was very, very moved, very encouraged. There was one Bible study that Greg was doing with them, and I thought it was perfect, especially because, and I'm sure he did this on purpose, because of the well project that we were working on too. And he was talking out of Matthew 9, and he was talking about Jesus, how he's healing. When he heals the paralytic, some people get offended right away. And then he's like, well, which is easier? Your sins are forgiven, or to say, rise and walk? And so then Jesus responds, but that you may know the Son of Man has the authority on earth to forgive sins. And he turns to the paralytic and says, pick up your bed and go home. And that whole concept of taking something that's broken and then through faith and the connection with God to see life on the other side, movement, something that was dead be now flourishing and growing and being able to participate in society. This well was like a symbol of that. It was broken, damaged. I don't think you said, but there was like 7 feet of trash that got pulled out of that. 7 feet with the circumference. That's a lot of trash. That's a lot of time. And it was broken. And for them, they were even, the cooperatives and the interns in El Salvador were even commenting how it was like, there was some shame with it because they were like, well, I even, threw some trash in it. But then on the other side, such hope that something that was dead, lost, like a piece of their property that was unusable for anything could now come back to life and be helpful and productive for their sustenance. It was a fantastic experience to see and to witness, and then to hear their words of encouragement, how they would comment and they go, the unity you all have is inspiring to us. They're like, they were 1,000% on board and encouraged, and even walked away from this trip feeling that motivation to bring to life their surrounding area too. Like what was dead can now experience life, growth. And this project was part of that. The Word of God solidified that. And I'm so hopeful for what they're going to do and the people that they're going to be in the world that needs them to be that. That's what I have to share. That was for both of us.
Oh, it's for both of us? Okay. So just by a show of hands, who's been on a mission trip in this room? So that's not normal. It's okay. It's not normal. It's a good not normal. So sometimes you pray and you have a plan, like I'd like to do this or that. And then God goes, I have a better plan. You're going to come here, and then you're going to start working for MCH, and then you're going to go to El Salvador. And I'm like, Olivia asks me all the time, she goes, would you have thought that? No, I would not have thought that. Or that when I go talk to my boss, Scott, and I'm like, are you okay with me going on this mission trip? And he's like, yeah, I want to go with you. Yes. Half the managers for MCH just left. And he sent a picture one day, there's no one there. It's just, Amazing. I would walk around, at the campus of El Salvador. I'm like, I'm in freaking El Salvador. This is just amazing. Just me and God talking. It was just great. So from a business standpoint, if you tell your boss you want to go on a mission trip, they're going to go, why? Why do you want to do that? That wasn't an issue. Scott's like, no, yeah, I want you to go. I want I want to go with you. I can't go with you. I'm jealous. I want to go with you. And then I kept asking Parker, is it like Canada? I've been to Canada. And he's like, no, James, it's not like Canada. I was trying to get him to laugh. He's very serious when he's on. There's a schedule. We have to follow the schedule. And then I'm just wandering off in the airport or whatever. But so he would ask me all the time, how are you doing? And I was like, even if I didn't feel good, I'm like, I'm glad I'm here. I got to spend 5 days with the Milcar in Kenya teaching them about solar. And so I talked for literally 12 hours. I was losing my voice. I had Walter as my translator. And when you have students who want to learn, it's much easier to teach somebody who wants to learn. So we went through all the procedures, how the system works. I broke it on purpose. They fixed it. They blew me away. They did everything. They knew how to work on it. At the end, I'm like, look, if you can't work on this and it breaks, I'm going to fly down here on my own dime to fix it. It's going to drive me crazy. So they're like, no, we got it. And they did. I mean, we went through the whole procedure. And then at nighttime, I just kind of walk around the campus. And I'm like, I'm where my daughter Olivia came and where Gabby came. All these people came. And I'm like, this is a lot of work. Like, you look around, you see the buildings. And I'm like, somebody spent a lot of time here. And then Jeremiah's like, yeah, me. So I'm like, a little selfish part of me is like, I'm glad I came later because this is a lot of work you spent on this campus. So, I was doing work. I helped Carver dig a ditch for about 10 feet, and I'm like, I'm going to go back and do the solar. That's really, really hard. But I finally got all the names right. Parker picked on me. He's like, you have to get their names right. And I'm like, well, I don't have a flow chart to tell me who everyone is. I still don't have a flow chart.
We're working on it.
You're working on it. And I don't speak any Spanish. None. Nada. And I would say, like, what is it? So you say good morning and buenos noches. I got all that wrong. It didn't matter. Every time. I called Lavinia for a long time. And she'd pat me on the shoulder and just. So at 53 years old, you can do anything. Because I never would have thought I'd be in El Salvador. So that's it. So that system you saw with the batteries and the solar panels, we have the exact same setup at the farm. So I tested that. They're able to find any of those parts. We actually found the panels and the batteries. We local sourced them. I wanted them to be able to, if it broke, they could see it and they could fix it themselves. I didn't want to leave them not be able to work on something. And I feel very confident they can fix on anything that broke or that they wanted to rework, or if they want to build it somewhere else, they could build it and go to another farm. They could put it in. So, yeah, it was a great visit. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one thing. I did want to just throw some more praise at him a little bit, because as a teacher, breaking something down so that people can understand it is a skill. Now, James did so good. He was excellent at stopping information before it got too complicated for them, at making sure they understood how it was all connecting. So that was my first experience. I got there because I came a couple days late. I show up and they go, all right, he's your student. Teach him what's going on. And so now Kenya and Amilcar are explaining the whole process to me. And I was blown away, and we're using a translator because I also don't speak Spanish. But it was fantastic to hear them explain and use even some technical terms and explain how they were testing the voltage coming out of the panels themselves to make sure the panels were good. Every step of it was broke down, and I'm confident they know what they're doing. And that's because James took the time, and he did such an excellent job at making sure that information was passed in a way that would be beneficial to them. Anyway, I want to throw that out there for him.
Yeah. Thank you, Skylar. Well, I'm thankful for this team. A picture that didn't make it into Jerry's slideshow was the well and that battery box you saw next to it both have fabricated metal lids that can be locked and keep out the rain. They did that very last, and we have the photo. Jerry didn't get it in the slideshow. But that cement top is gone that they used to just kind of be able to pull away and throw trash in there. Now it has a lid that locks so they can open it up, check the water, and it's really cool. James got a nickname while abroad. The name for James in Spanish can be Santiago, and then the shortened version for Santiago in El Salvador is Chago. And so they were calling him Chago, but then James kept saying Chugo. I was like, James, not Chugo, bro, it's Chago. I don't know what Chugo is, but if it's bad, I don't want you to say it. And so then by the end of the week, his full nickname was Chago El Guapo. So Chugo El Guapo. Sorry, I said it the right way, the wrong way. Yeah, but Chugo El Guapo, if you see Chugo El Guapo around, make sure you give him a hug. Thank you guys, I appreciate it.